Hi everyone, Heather Gauthier here, GelMoment Independent Distributor. I'm just making this video to show you how to recreate this Amethyst Geode Slice manicure that I did. You of course can do it in any colorway that you prefer, but today we'll be using the purple colorway that I chose for this manicure. So to get started, I used Lovee Dovee, Raven's Kiss, Mystic Rain, Wisterian Grove, Queen of the Galaxy, Chandelier, Mulberry Star, clearly Frisky, and two chromes, number 8 Milky Way and number 12 Spectrum. And to apply my manicure, I used a couple of brushes from the Creativity Set, which are this striper brush, the detail brush, and a flat brush. I'll be recreating this look on a nail stick. So normally if I were doing this on my own nails, I would want to make sure that I had buffed my nail with the gray side of my GelMoment nail file and then had wiped all of the residue and dust off with a cleanser. I've already prepared this nail stick just to save us a little bit of time. And to start off, the first color I'm going to use is Lovee Dovee. So I'm going to roll the polish between my hands to get it nice and mixed. This helps to prevent bubbles and to make sure that the color will adhere well. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this to my silicone mat here so that I don't get it all over my work area and so that I don't contaminate my polish. So the first brush I'm going to use is the striper brush, and I'm just going to get a little bit of Lovee Dovee on my brush. Just going to spread it out till I get a nice thin line, and I'm going to create kind of a random jagged shape. This will be the outline of the colored part of the geode slice, and on the other side will be the Raven's Kiss kind of shadow that would represent the rest of the rock or the space that the geode is laying against. And so there's no particular shape that you have to do this. I just try to make sure that it's a little bit organic around the edges, so not too smooth. And you can kind of just shake the brush a little bit in the polish to kind of achieve that slightly jagged rock edge. Now, if you're not happy with it, the lovely part about working with GelMoment is that you would just take a cleansing cloth and wipe it off. If you are satisfied with what you have done, then you're going to put that into your LED lamp and cure it. All right, so now that that's cured, I'm going to get my next color, which in this case is going to be Raven's Kiss. I'm going to roll that between my hands. And I like to apply my Raven's Kiss initially with the brush from the bottle because my other polish is cured, so I'm not going to contaminate it. And I find that it applies just a little bit more evenly if I use this brush to put the initial amount of polish on, and then I spread it out with my detail brush or my flat brush, just depending on what space I'm putting this on my nail. So I'm going to use my flat brush here. Actually, I need a little bit of polish on my mat here to work with. There we go. And now I can just fill in the rest of the edge here. Again, this is trying to kind of create a rocky edge for my geode, so this line doesn't have to be perfect. And I will end up putting a second coat on here to create a layer of Raven's Kiss that's dark enough to create a nice black backdrop. But thin coats are the key to getting the polish to cure properly. So I've just spread that out there, and I'm going to let it cure. So now I'll just add a second coat. You'll see that the second coat already makes it a lot more opaque. And you can put on as many coats as you like to achieve the look you're going for. I find 2 coats creates enough contrast for me, especially when it's on my nail, to make the rest of the geode really pop. And I just want a little bit more on the side here. and then I will cure that again. Now, while that's curing, I'm not going to be using Raven's Kiss on this brush anymore, so I'm going to just wipe it clean. I've taken a remover pad out of its packet to clean that up, and then I can also clean up my striper brush here. For the same reason, I'm not going to be using Lovee Dovee on there for a while now. Alright, so you can see there I have my blank space on my nail to create the different colored layers for the geode, and around the outside I've got my Raven's Kiss and my Lovee Dovee. So the first color I put on there was Mystic Rain. So I'm going to put a little bit on my mat here. I'm actually going to put a little bit out of all of the different shades of purple that I used now. So a little bit of Mystic Rain, a little bit of Wisterian Grove. So when I did the Amethyst Geode, I used a lot of different colors because I happen to have a lot of different purples, but this look can be achieved with just a couple of colors if you happen to have a different colorway that you have lots of, or even if you're just starting out, by mixing your main color with Raven's Kiss and Lovee Dovee, you can still create a bunch of different colors there. So I am going to get my Chandelier out as well. And some of these were used to create those contrasting lines that stand out a little bit more, and others were just used a little more subtly. So there you can see, these are the main colors I used to create the different layers inside the geode. So I'm now going to take my detail brush, and with it I'm going to start out with a little bit of Mystic Rain, and I'm going to paint not too thick of a stripe here. I don't want the coat to be too thick, of course, because it won't cure properly, but I do want to get enough on there that you're going to be able to tell that this color is there. Now if you get a little bit on your Lovee Dovee line, that's okay. Of course, geodes don't have smooth edges, so the roughness of that can actually make it look a little more authentic. And then I'm going to wipe my brush here. The next color I used was Wisterian Grove. So I created another band of color right beside it. Now I'm not curing in between because I like the way it looks with kind of the edges flowing together as the polish settles out. And I find that when I drag my striper brush through with some of the highlighting colors, the result is really nice when the other polish colors are also a little bit wet. So, for example, in between these two layers, you'll see that partway through I did the line of Queen of the Galaxy. So I'm going to switch brushes here, and I'm just going to grab my striper brush to show you that. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of polish here, and then I can create just kind of a wiggly line here that I like to have it mimic my white Lovee Dovee line. But again, geodes aren't perfectly smooth in any portion because they are an organic formation. So the rougher, the more authentic your look is going to be. Okay, I'll use some Chandelier now. To fill in beside the stripe of Wisterian Grove. I really like how these two colors interacted together. And then I liked to mirror the colors a little bit by bringing back Mystic Rain to create another stripe here beside the Chandelier. So if they mix a little, that's not a problem. You kind of want the polish touching the different coats anyway. Then from here, I did a little bit of Mulberry Star. Get a little bit more glitter in there. And then I put another stripe. So let's get my striper brush. Another stripe of Queen of the Galaxy here. So part of this is kind of recreating some of the lines from before. And then I used a little bit of Wisterian Grove again on the middle. And maybe a little more Chandelier. So you can see the lines that I've created kind of repeat themselves throughout here. Now, this is a thin coat, so I probably will add a little bit more color after this has been cured. Let's just give that a second. So you can see there are my layers. So they're a little bit faint still, which is a perfect reason to take my detail brush and just do another pass on any of the colors that I think are a little bit too faint still. So for example, just filling in those rings of Mystic Rain a little bit. I might even get a little more out of the bottle. But I would rather use a little bit of polish at a time and not have a lot of waste. So adding a little bit more to the rings that are there before. Again, if it overlaps, that's not a problem. And this time I might even let them mix a little bit as I just fill in the areas on my nail stick to try and give them enough cover that you'll be able to see the full effect of the geode. So I've got those colors there. Now I'm going to cure that again. And while that's curing, I'm going to mix up a little bit of Clearly Frisky with my 2 different chrome powders. So I'm going to put a little dab of Clearly Frisky here, a little second dab here, and then I really like to use my cuticle pusher to scoop a tiny bit of chrome powder out into the Clearly Frisky when I'm going to mix it. So I just use the point, take the tiniest amount of Clearly Frisky, and then I find that it works really well to mix just with the end of my cuticle pusher. And then I don't end up with a lot of waste because I'll actually use what's on the cuticle pusher on my brush. So on my thin striper brush, let's just make sure it's clean. I'm going to pick up some of this Clearly Frisky with Spectrum Chrome in it. Get the extra off of here. And wipe the rest off. There's only a little bit. And then I'm going to paint a couple of different stripes here to add some of the really shiny, detailed lines in the slice. So you really don't need to mix up a lot because you're only putting a couple of stripes of this mixture and a couple of stripes of the other. But it's just to add that little extra bit of shine and sparkle to some of those layers. And then I'll mix now a little bit of Milky Way Chrome into my other little dab of Clearly Frisky. Well, that's probably too much. There we go. So again, I just like the cuticle pusher because I find it allows me to get a precise amount and I don't waste any when I'm mixing it. And so I will get what's left off of my cuticle pusher before I clean it. And then get some on my brush to stripe across here. So where exactly you put the stripes here will depend on the colors in your design and how dramatic you want the effect to be. I like to try and put them on some of the contrasting colors, so Milky Way looks good on purple without sparkle, whereas I find Spectrum I can put in some of the more silvery parts and it will show up nicely. And then I also like to put one just at the very edge of the geode because I find that if you're looking at a natural geode, you do tend to get kind of those crystals peeking out from the edge. There. So I've got all my different colors there. I'm going to cure this, and then after it's cured, I will add just a hint of Spectrum Chrome to the top to kind of finish blinging it out, and then I will seal it with Clearly Frisky and it'll be done. So now I'm going to take my Spectrum Chrome and I'm going to take my applicator brush. I'm just going to lift a little bit of chrome out of the lid because I don't need very much. And I'm going to rub that over the geode lightly. I don't want to add a whole lot because I don't want to take away from the colors that I've mixed in there. But I find it does really make it nice and shiny. And then I will finish that up with a top coat of Clearly Frisky. This helps to smooth out the different textures that I've created through all the different layers and pieces on here. There we go. So let's tuck that into the lamp. Now the other two colorways that I did to show as samples, this was with the intention to show that you don't actually need to use this many colors to create a geode effect. So first, this one here, I used these colors together, and I just used one chrome with that to create that effect. So I used 3 different turquoise colors, Underwater Haze, Seacrest, and Siren Seduction. And then I added a little more variation by mixing Lovee Dovee and Raven's Kiss in with some of those colors and mixing in some of the number 8 Milky Way chrome to create that. But I went even further in terms of reducing the colors I used to create this one here. So for this, I used Frozen Margarita, these colors, and 1 chrome. So I mixed my chrome in with some of the polish. I mixed Frozen Margarita with Lovee Dovee and Raven's Kiss in varying degrees to create the different shades of pink. And all of this was created with these 4 colors and 1 chrome. So you don't have to use 8 colors. It can be completed with, a single color as long as you've got some of the basics to mix in with it. So let's just take this one out here. And there you go. There is our Amethyst Geode Slice. And if you would like, you can also create different colorways in the same way. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.